This happened a few years ago, and for a long time I tried not to connect the dots. I told myself it was just bad timing, bad luck. But the truth is, I don't think I was filling in for my coworker at all. At the time, I was working a rotating shift job at a small facility that operated 24 hours a day. It wasn't a big company, just enough staff to keep things running. Everyone knew everyone else. Schedules were predictable. People didn't just disappear. One afternoon, my supervisor pulled me aside before my shift ended and asked if I could cover an overnight shift later that week. I asked who I was covering for. He said a coworker named Mark. I knew Mark. Not well, but well enough. Quiet guy. Kept to himself. Always showed up early. Never complained. The kind of employee managers loved. I asked if he was sick. My supervisor hesitated for half a second and said something like that. That should have been my first warning. The overnight shift wasn't something people volunteered for. The building felt different at night. Same place, same machines, but quieter, emptier, like the building was holding its breath. Still, I said yes. When the night came, I showed up around 9:45 p.m. The place was already quiet. The day's shift was packing up. No one mentioned Mark. No one said where he was. I clocked in and took my usual spot. The first few hours were uneventful. Same routine checks, same screens, same dull hum of equipment. Around midnight, I realized something odd. Mark's locker was still open. Not wide open, just cracked slightly, like someone had meant to close it and didn't. I didn't think much of it until I noticed his things were still inside. Jacket, lunch bag, work boots. People didn't leave their stuff overnight unless they planned to come back. I figured he'd be in the next day. Around 1:30 a.m., I got a system alert. One of the sections I was responsible for showed activity. Nothing serious, just enough to require a manual check. Normally, 2 people handled that area, Mark and whoever was filling in. That night, it was just me. I grabbed my radio and headed down the hallway. The lights in that section were dimmer than the rest of the building. Always had been. I walked past empty workstations, the sound of my footsteps echoing louder than usual. As I reached the station, I noticed something already logged in on the terminal. Mark's name. I stared at the screen. The timestamp said the system had been accessed less than 10 minutes earlier. I checked my watch. I hadn't been down there. I radioed the supervisor's office, asking if anyone else was in the building. No response. I called again. Still nothing. I logged Mark out of the system and completed the check myself. Everything looked normal. No faults. No errors. Just activity. When I turned to leave, the radio crackled. Not a voice. Just static. Then, through the static, I heard breathing. Slow. Controlled. I froze. I asked if anyone was on the channel. The breathing stopped. I walked back to the main area faster than I meant to. My heart was pounding, but I kept telling myself it was just interference. Old radios did that. Around 3 a.m., I received an email notification. The sender was Mark. Subject line, covering me. The email itself was empty. No message, no signature, just the subject. I stared at it for a long time before deleting it. The rest of the shift dragged. Every sound felt louder. Every shadow felt closer. I kept glancing toward Mark's workstation, half expecting to see him sitting there like nothing was wrong. He never was. When morning finally came, I asked my supervisor if Mark was okay. He avoided my eyes and said Mark wouldn't be coming back. I asked why. He said, "We're handling it." That was all. Days passed, then weeks. Mark's locker stayed exactly the same. No one cleared it out. No one reassigned his desk. It was like he was still on the schedule, just not present. One night, about a month later, I was working another late shift when I noticed something that made my stomach drop. The schedule board had my name written next to Mark's old shift. Not covering, not temporary, just my name, like it had always been that way. I quit shortly after that. I never saw Mark again. No goodbye, no explanation, no mention of where he went. But sometimes, when I think about that night, one thing still bothers me. The system activity, the email, the locker that never got emptied. It didn't feel like I was filling in for someone who was gone. It felt like I was being moved into his place. And whatever happened to Mark, I don't think it was sudden. I think it was gradual. And I think I stepped in right at the end.